Welcome back to the High Vibe Honey podcast, the space where power meets peace, frequency meets finesse, and success gets to feel like soul. I'm your host, Katie Rogers, energetics, emotional alchemy, and embodiment coach for high-performing women who are done chasing and are ready to collapse time into deeper embodiment, devotion, and desire. Today's episode is for the woman whose brand is good, but no longer reflects the power she is actually holding. So if you know you're meant to be known, paid, and remembered, then this one is for you. I'm joined by a woman whose work doesn't just make you visible, it makes you unforgettable. Reem Alshamsi is a luxury brand mentor, strategist, and creative director and founder of Rain Era, where she leads wildly ambitious, visionary women to build what she calls fame brands. The kind of personal brands that don't just look good on the feed, but they transcend it. Known for her bold presence, creative genius, and savage energy, Reem helps high level women birth brands that are instantly recognizable, unapologetically feminine, and deeply iconic. This is about building a brand that isn't just seen, but felt. And through her masterminds, luxury retreats, and high touch private experiences, Reem mentors the women who are done playing small and are ready to lead with identity, presence, and power. So let's dive in. Reem, welcome. I am so excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so honored.
Yes, yes. Now, you said before that you're not here to make things just look good. You're here to help women become known. Can you tell us more about that and what flips the switch for that in your world?
Yeah, because I have worked with so many women across different industries at different stages in business. And there has always been this misconception that if you have a curated feed, if you have a polished look online, that equals luxury, but premium doesn't equal pretty. It's part of it, of course, but it's not the whole equation. Actually, building real luxury is about the depth of who you are. So when I say you become known, I mean you become known for who you are, not just how you look on the outside. There are so many layers under the surface for you as a woman. And if that's not being showcased in your brand right now, that means you're underexpressed. And so I always say, like, you cannot say you want to be known for what you do if you don't truly deeply know who you actually are and what you actually want to be known for.
Yeah, I love that. It's just this boldness, authenticity piece, which, as you say, you can't just make that into a post. That's got to be more of a felt sense that embodies deeper layers to who you really are.
Yes, exactly. And there are always nuances. And I found this with myself as well. Like everything that I'm going to talk about today, like I've been there, I've done it, where who I am on a one-on-one call, who I am on a mastermind call, who I am when I'm in the room with someone, I found that is completely different to who I am when I'm showing up online. And it's not that I'm not the same person, but it's more of my content wasn't showcasing the depth of who I really am as a woman.
Mhm.
It was only showcasing, I would say, 70% of what people actually see behind the scenes when they are with me in a close proximity space. And I realize that the remaining 30% is what actually makes people take the leap, hire you, buy from you, trust you, because that is where your true nuances, your intentionality, your depth, your story, what makes you who you are starts coming out to the surface, and that's what people are actually looking for.
Yes, I so agree. I think there is so much of a positioning around bringing out authority content pieces, and then you lose, who you are. And whenever I'm looking to hire a coach, I want to know that the person who is sharing the work with me, that they've walked their path in it. I don't want them to have been perfect. Like I want them to know that they went on a journey with this. They fell down all the bear traps on the way to some extent. And because they did that and they walked their path, they can guide me in a much more powerful way. So I totally agree. Sharing more of your story and the embodiment of the work that you share. It's like I'm not just going to teach you it, I'm going to show you it. And so, with that, can you tell us a little bit more about your story to building your own luxury brand?
Yes, of course. So this isn't my first brand. I founded and built my own agency 3 to 4 years back now. And at the time, I was still a full-time student in college. And I always had this fascination around brands. I even found a very old journal of me from middle school where I wrote down every single industry possible, followed with brand. I want to start a clothing brand, a car brand, crazy, a hotel brand, a bakery brand, like everything was related to a brand.
God,
And I've
watch
always
this
had
space. She's got a lot of ideas coming through.
exactly. And I always had this fascination around what makes a brand a brand.
Mhm.
So I'd look at stores around me, I'd look at shops around me, I'd look at businesses around me and wonder like, why is a certain clothing store considered a brand, but another one isn't? Like, why is it that there are supermarkets that are just another supermarket on the street, and then you have the Carrefour, the Target, the um I forgot what it's called, but all of these big names like Spinach, like all of these big names of like they're both supermarkets, they're both convenience stores. So why is it that one of them is just another store down the street and another one has made a name in their industry? And I always wonder that. I always had this fascination. And I studied design. I studied graphic design in college. So I'm gonna take you back to my very beginnings. I initially started my branding agency account. Actually, it wasn't to start a business. It was to create a portfolio of my design work so that when I graduate college, I would have a strong portfolio to show employers that this is my work. So I didn't intentionally start it as, okay, I'm gonna start a business. I'm gonna start my own brand. So I kind of dabbled into it. I used to post my college projects on there and do passion projects and things like that. And then I discovered the world of freelancing. And I was like, wait, this is so cool. I can make money online with my skills.
Mhm.
And I was a great designer. I was really, really good at what I do. So I would post all of these projects that are really good, but no one would hire me. And mind you, my prices were like $50 for a logo and like
Yeah.
a
Uh-huh.
mini branding project. And I was like, why is no one hiring me? Like I'm so good at what I do. And I would post all of this content that's like educational, that's like the different font types and the types of color palettes and things like that that high level clients don't really care about.
No.
And I thought that that was the route to go down. And so this is where I started discovering, no, there must be something else. It can't be just about what I do, because if it's about what I do, I'm great at it and people would be hiring me. And again, at the time, it was $50. So I was like, why aren't people paying me? Like, it's such a small amount of money.
Yeah.
And then I discovered the world of branding and brand building and brand strategy. And I went into it. I studied it. I started studying brands in the market across different industries. And I was like, okay, like there are some elements that make up a brand. And so what I did was I threw out everything that I was doing. And I was like, I'm gonna make my own brand. And so I started applying all of the principles that now make up my methodology to my own brand to build my own luxury brand. And that is when I raised my prices.
Mhm.
Clients paid those high ticket prices. And I was like, okay, like it's happening. There is a reputation around my name in the market. There is an image. there's an identity to my brand in the market, and people are starting to recognize it and trust it and pay high ticket for it. So that was like the unlock the secret moment. And then
Mm.
I ran that for 3 to 4 years, and now I'm here because I realized that branding can do so much for you, like the visual identity aspect of it, but the actual brand building process that happens behind the scenes is where the true magic happens. And that goes back to your first question. Having a pretty brand will only take you so far if you haven't
Yeah,
mastered the luxury concepts and know how to build a luxury brand and build a brand that's a match for the high ticket desire. And so from the get-go, for this brand specifically, I focused on building a luxury brand from day one. Of course, I started as a faceless account. I know, ironic. A woman who's helping women build fame. But we started as a faceless account.
yeah.
And even if it was a faceless account, I actually invested in a four-figure photo shoot, a faceless photo shoot.
Wow.
I did that from the very beginning. My content, my branding, my visuals, even the naming of my offers, everything that I was doing was intentionally in the way that I built a luxury brand, and it evolved from there, and here we are today.
I love that. And I think as well, a lot of people starting out in their businesses, they think brand and they do think like pretty feed, colors, fonts, logos, that kind of thing. I mean, I'm even thinking back to when I was a law student and I was really interested in fashion and I was interested in fashion branding and I wrote my dissertation around intellectual property in the fashion industry. So when I'm thinking about brand, I was very much thinking about the logos, the recognizability of the brands, and a little bit about brand positioning, but I wasn't thinking so much around that, what makes that difference between a luxury brand and that customer identification of am I the customer who wants to pay 50 quid for a logo, or am I the customer who wants to go into a premium high ticket container to build out my brand? So it's so interesting, as you say, there is so much more to it and it's so much deeper to that. And when you position yourself as the asking the question of, oh, this is so cheap, why is no one buying? It's almost like, oh, that's the wrong question, especially as you say,
Mhm.
when you are building a luxury brand. And so powerful that you get to go through that experience and learn and evolve as you're walking that path is into what does make a luxury brand into what you have created today. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing more on that.
You're so
So
welcome.
the women that you work with or that you see in the industry, what do you see as some of the biggest ways that people kind of unknowingly blend in, even when they think they're building bold?
Okay, let's get juicy. Okay, the first part of it. Now there are a lot of things, but one part of it is I see this big coach, this big service provider doing this, and that. They're doing this type of content. They're launching this type of offers. They're positioning themselves this way, and they're getting results. So I'm going to do the exact same thing,
Mm,
and it's going to get me results. And that never works. That
no.
never works because every single brand and every single human behind the brand, there has to be alignment between the actual strategy piece. Like the strategy that you apply to your brand has to actually align with the identity of who you are behind the scenes.
Mhm.
So that's a mistake that I see all the time. A second mistake that I see is that women put on this facade that when I come online, I almost put on like this character that isn't who they really are behind the scenes. And so they go out there and they perform. And what happens is, again, when there is misalignment between how you're presenting yourself online and who you really are behind the scenes, there is always going to be a mismatch. There's always going to be a mismatch. It's going to show up in your content, it's going to show up in the type of clients you attract, and it's going to show up in everything that you do, even if you're doing everything right, there will always be something that feels off because again, there's that misalignment piece. Another mistake that I see is I'm going to build a luxury brand, so I'm going to raise my prices because luxury brands have high ticket prices.
Yeah.
And this is where your price point is right here. Like it's way up, but the way you have positioned yourself as a brand is like way down. And what people don't realize is that this gap right here, it creates a perception gap.
Hmm.
And so people perceive you as just another option because of the way you're showing up online. You're great at what you do. They see you as an expert, cool. But for them to pay you those prices, they want to see much more. They want to see real leadership. They want to see how you lead yourself, how you put yourself in the big games, in the big arenas, how you bet on yourself, how you take bigger risks, evolve, change, grow. And so when your brand is like cruising right here, when your brand is still a match to the version of you from 6 months ago or 1 year ago, or some people even 2 years ago, but you've raised your prices because you have evolved behind the scenes, but your brand hasn't showcased that evolution. It creates that gap, and people can feel that gap. And if your brand is still a match to the version of you from even if it's like 3 months ago, and you're a woman who grows at like such insane speed, and your brand is not keeping up with you, your brand is holding you back. And that is one of the most, like, the biggest mistakes that I see all the time. It's that, yes, like, you have evolved, you're doing great things, you're doing big things, you're taking risks, but your brand hasn't caught up with you yet and is holding you back.
Yeah. I love that. This understanding that disconnect between where you are and where you're positioning your brand. And sometimes I see people do this as well. They'll raise their prices because they're like, this is the bold move, except energetically, it feels out of alignment. So they're almost like self-sabotaging in that process because it's like, oh, well, I secretly don't want anyone to buy because I don't know if I can hold this new standard. So if I put my prices at really high, hopefully no one buys, right? This is the subconscious part. Conscious mind is like, of course, I want a high ticket premium product that speaks to a luxury buyer, but you have to also be the frequency match to that where you can hold. And sometimes I see people who have invested in their messaging and have invested in their marketing and they sell the dream and then you get inside the space and they're like, okay, so what's your favorite font? And I'm like, that's not what I hired you for, to be my branding experts, like specialist to ask me my favorite font. Right.
Mhm.
But I love this piece of connecting that so that when you get inside that room, like the feel, the look, the experience of it is exactly what the expectation level has been set at and creating that to a space of congruency. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify something because ever since I came into this field, and I've been in it for over 4 years now, people think a brand is the tangible piece of it. They think a
Mm.
brand is, oh, it's the website, it's the digital storefront, it's the name of the brand, it's the logo of the brand, it's the Instagram feed of the brand. But a
Yeah.
brand is an experience. If you take one thing from this episode, it's a
Yeah.
brand is an experience. It's a world. It's a culture that people buy into and they never want to leave again because they feel at home there. A brand is something that people don't just see, but they feel on a deeper level,
Yeah.
and they feel like they belong in your world because your brand is a mirror where it shows them that their desired identity that they're striving to become is a living, breathing human being, a living, breathing entity in your world. That is what a brand truly is. So it's not a
Mm.
household name. It's not your Instagram handle, it's not your fonts, it's not your feed, it's not your
Yeah.
sales pages. Like all of that obviously plays a role into creating that experience. But at the very core, a brand is an experience and it's a world that people go into. And there's a lot of talk online around build a brand, build a brand, build a brand. And they're like, okay, what are you good at? Who is your target audience? And and like what makes you the authority? Go and build a brand. That's not what makes a true brand. If that's what makes a true brand, then every single person on the internet has built a brand.
Hmm.
But a real brand is an immersive experience. It's almost like they feel like they plug out of reality and they plug into your world and they plug into it because your world has shown them that what's what they want is possible for them, that you make people believe in themselves again, to try again, to take the bolder move, to change their life, to change their health, to whatever it is that you help your clients with. It's opening the doors of possibility to people
Hmm.
and showing them that your world is simply a portal to the identity that they want, because that is what people want no matter what.
Yes, I love this so much. So beautifully articulated. And I think just shatters so many misconceptions around what building a brand really means. So yeah, thank you so much for that. And you talk about brand frequency as well, which I think is a really powerful way to articulate what you've just been sharing. Could you give us some examples of what it actually looks like to create that field, that vibration, that frequency that does call in the right people effortlessly?
Yes. Before I do that, I want to tell you a story. So
Yes, get it.
when you have this frequency about you, people view you in a completely different light. And I'm going to give you a real life example of when this happened to me. So I was freshly graduated. I was already years into business. This actually happened like last year or something. And I graduated with honors. Of course I did.
Of course you
I'm
did.
like, I'm the most type A person on earth. Anyways, so they get in contact with me and they say that there is like a reward for you as an alumni. So if you can come pick it up. And I didn't know, but on the same exact day, there was a job fair from the biggest with the biggest companies in the country
Mhm.
there. And I didn't know. I was just going back into campus to collect whatever my reward was. And so I go to the HQ part and I tell them I'm looking for this woman. And they say, oh, she's actually in the job fair right now. And they guide me where it is. And so I go there. And as I said, this is a job fair where the most major, biggest companies in the country are there to hire fresh graduates and alumni. And I woke up to the entrance of the hall, and there are women there, and they're assisting whoever is coming in to make sure that everyone knows where they're supposed to go. Now, I didn't say a single word. I did not introduce myself. I nothing. I just woke up to them, and they go, good morning. Thank you so much for coming. You're coming from you're I think they said you're a CEO or a founder, right? Let's walk you to your table."
Mhm. CEO energy.
And I giggle to myself and I say, "No, actually, I'm looking for the name of the woman." And they go, "Oh, so sorry about that. Yeah, sure. Let's bring her out to you for you." And I'm telling this story because when you build a true luxury brand, there is something about your presence that shifts.
Mm.
And there is this field around you. And it is so attractive and it makes you unforgettable and it makes you perceived as someone who is a big effing deal. And I only got to this space because I learned the fame field frequencies and the luxury concept. So when you say brand frequency, a lot of people will think, oh, like pay attention to the look and the feel and like what colors you're using. And as I said earlier, of course, all of that plays into it, but it's not the main ingredient. The main ingredient is your presence and it is that identity that you curate for yourself that's like that this is the famous version of me where you start operating not as a coach, not as a service provider, not even as a personal brand, but as a luxury asset, where you start viewing yourself as a luxury asset, as a luxury product that your clients are buying. So this is where your influence turns into income. This is where your identity turns into demand. This is where your presence turns into the luxury product or the luxury asset that high ticket clients buy into. That is when people perceive you as a big deal and they therefore perceive your work as a big deal. And that is how you trigger high ticket desire in clients, in the right clients, which makes you a match for them. And they're like, I don't care, send me the link. $30,000. Okay, I'm in.
Mm.
That is the real brand frequency. And so the real brand frequency is not about how it looks how it looks on the screen, but it's about who you are behind the screen.
Hmm.
And then learning how to translate that. And this is why there is something in my world called brand strategy, because this is where you translate your own identity as strategy. Let me say that one more time, as
Yeah.
strategy to translate your identity into a luxury asset in the market that people want to buy. And
Mm.
that is the art and science of true brand building.
So well said. This is exactly what I was looking for at the time when I hired the lady who said, okay, so what's your favorite font? Yes, there is so much more to it. And when you get it right and when you work with an expert who can help you to really pull out your identity, evolve it into your brand and really get that nailed, this is where, things just really shift in your world and in your business. So yeah, beautifully expressed and also congratulations on your award, Reem.
Thank you.
So if there are women listening here who feel like their brand might be underexpressed right now, where's a good place for them to start looking and what are some signs they might be looking for to notice that their brand isn't calibrated to the current power that it could be?
Your brand is underexpressed if you deep down, there's a part of you that resents your brand.
Mm.
I've been there where I'm like, I'm so amazing at what I do. And my brand looks so good online. So why is it that people aren't hiring me? And there was a part of me that was honestly pissed off.
Hmm.
I'd look at my brand, I'd look at my content, I'm like, mm-mm, no, there's something off. And when I realized also that there are some parts of my methodology, some parts of my teaching, some parts of who I am as a woman that I'm not showcasing online because I was putting up a front.
Hmm.
So again, as a perfectionist and type A kind of woman,
Yeah.
I wanted to show up online and be professional. I wanted to come online and be polished. I wanted people to look at my brand and go, wow.
Yeah.
But little did I know that, yes, that created a beautiful brand online, but it didn't show people my true leadership. It didn't show people my personality. Like, I'm a very fun person to be around. And even on
Yeah.
my calls, like, our calls are a mix of like savage conversations mixed with a lot of laughter because that's just the vibe that that's just who I am. And even on like behind the scenes, like I'm a very witty person. I'm so clever with how I express myself. But when I came to create content online, I'm like, okay, I have this message that I want to say. How do I structure it to
Hmm.
fit into a carousel?
Yeah.
How do I say it in a way that will make it an attention grabbing hook for my reel? How do I translate what I'm feeling inside when I could have said it the way I would have said it and it would have made me much more money while attracting the best clients in the world.
Yeah.
But I found myself trying to box what who I am and my personality and my genius into a carousel,
Hmm.
into a reel, into a caption. Oh, how do I say this CDA? How do I tie this to this CDA? And things like that, where if I just said it the way I wanted to say it and the way I can say it,
Yeah.
people would feel much more gravitated to me. They would find me much more attractive because finally there is a fresher breath air in the online space. Finally, a woman is owning who she is. Finally, she's saying it in a way that no one else has said it instead of trying to follow a framework. So that is one way um, that it shows up in your brand that you're underexpressed. It's where you try to box your genius and box who you are and your personality and your story into how do I say this in a carousel? How do I say this in a caption? How do I
Hmm.
say this in an Instagram story sequence? So that's number one. Number two is when you do a photo shoot and you get your photos back and you're like, I like it, but I'm not obsessed with it. This definitely happened to me before. I was like, in the moment, in the photo shoot, I felt like, yes, this is the vibe. This is the photo because the whole point of a photo shoot is for it to express different variations of who you are as a woman, and that is why photo shoots are so important in my world.
Mm.
But when you do a photo shoot and it comes back and you're like, I love this, but it doesn't make your heart beat faster to post it online, that is when you know you're underexpressed.
Hmm.
Because when you do a photo shoot that actually fully expresses who you are, there is some sort of vulnerability. There is some sort of depth. Oh my God, people are gonna learn a deeper layer of me. They're gonna meet a newer version of me that they haven't met yet. And so
Yeah.
if you are, well, number one, using photos from a photo shoot that you did at least a quarter ago, you're already underexpressed because no way that you did not evolve ever since that time. Number one. Number two, if you receive the photos back and you're like, oh my God, they're so pretty, I love them, and you post them and it feels so comfy to post them, you're underexpressed because you're in your little comfy zone now. Another way that I see women being underexpressed is um, let me think this through.
I'm feeling so called out now because the photos I'm using, your gal definitely needs a new photo shoot. So
Yeah.
yeah.
hmm I literally look back, I scroll back. I know how outdated my photo shoot has gotten. If I scroll back in my photo album, I'm like, oh my God, it's taking me a while to get to the photo shoot photos.
Yeah.
Because look at the amount of moments and experiences and wisdom that you have gained throughout this time. Look at the
Mm,
amount of places you've traveled to. Look at the amount of people you met, the connections you've made, the clients you've signed, the
mm,
sales you got, the um just like your whole journey. It has been a while. And so whenever I know that it's taking a while for me to get to my photos, that's when I know, okay, it's time for a new photo shoot because I have evolved and people need to meet this new version of me.
mm.
And so underexpress in your content, your messaging, in your photo shoots. And there was one at the tip of my tongue, and I can't find it right now. If it comes back, I'll tell you. But
Yeah.
there are definitely so many ways that a woman feels underexpressed in her brand. If your price points are also fun to charge, and you're like, yes, I don't know, $970,
Mhm.
$1,000, $30,000, where is your comfy zone?
Yeah.
And then if there comes a point that you'll launch a new offer that stretches you, that expands you, where you have raised your price point, are you positioning the offer in a way to make it more digestible to people to get them in? That is also something that I used to do. Is I'd launch this amazing mastermind or this amazing program with such high level work inside. And then I look at the people who are watching my stories and I'm like, wow, I don't think these people are ready for that yet. So I bring the level of work inside the container down to match the people who are in my audience. That is also a big part of being underexpressed, where you tone it down to make it more digestible to people who are in your audience. When if you fully owned who you are and you allowed your work to be fully expressed too, that is when you're gonna start signing all the clients that you actually want to sign.
Yeah, I think this is such an interesting piece as well because I see a lot of people build a business and build a brand and they speak to the people who are there in front of them versus the people they really want to work with. And then they end up building a business they don't really like. They end up buying into a disempowered view that they have of their audience. If they're like, oh, they're not ready yet, right? It's you're not seeing somebody in their power. Now you can identity shift someone into being ready to be in your world, or you speak to the person who is ready and magnetize them in, right? But when you aren't seeing someone in their power and then you're pouring all in and like as you say, this resentment builds, you end up with a business that you don't like, and then often people burn it to the ground and start again or whatever else. So yeah, being able to nail that is such a valuable skill. It means that you can build a brand that, as you said earlier, feels like home, that you love being in.
Yeah, exactly. And all of this starts with how you view yourself behind the scenes, because if you view yourself as like, would you hire you?
Mhm.
And if you would hire you, how much would you pay, or how much would you pay you to hire you to help you with what you help your clients with? That answer those two questions, and you're going to see exactly where those funny nuances are, because the way you see yourself and the way you perceive yourself and your work, you may not know it. You're doing it subconsciously, but it's being translated in everything that you do
Yeah.
online. And so this is another piece too, is that a lot of people say, oh, like I cannot control people's decisions. I cannot control when they want to buy. I cannot control how they perceive me. And I call BS on that, because if you have mastered true luxury brand building, the the main point of building a luxury brand is that you control people's perceptions so that they perceive you as a luxury asset. That is the whole point of the story. Why do brands like Dior, Chanel, or whatever, why do we perceive them as luxury? Because they have built their brand in a way it's designed, it's articulated to make us perceive them as a luxury brand. and
Hmm.
that their products are luxury assets. And that is where the art and science of the luxury concept comes in. And
Yeah.
so that is such an important piece.
Mm. I love this. And you think, sometimes people think they want to be speaking to premium buyers and then they're like talking to coupon queens basically and they're like, oh, but it's going to be like 90% off and you're going to get all these extras and as you say, if you walked into like Chanel or Dior and they're like everything is half off, you'd be like, what? that's not
Exactly.
that's not the experience I was expecting. Okay.
Mhm.
um I love this, and I want to lead this into your take on kind of aesthetic versus embodiment in branding. So, can a brand feel luxurious if the woman behind it feels invisible?
No. Mm-mm. And the keyword you said is feel. Can the
Hmm.
brand feel luxurious if the woman behind it feels invisible? If you said, can the brand look luxurious if the woman behind it looks invisible? I would say yes. You can make a you can make your brand look luxurious without you feeling and embodying that behind the scenes, but you cannot make people feel it.
Yeah.
There was always be a disconnect where people would look at your feed and they'd be like, I love this, but like subconsciously, there's a gap. They're like, something fishy here, something is happening under the surface that makes
Mm.
people hesitate or makes them follow you to consume your content, but not to actually take action to hire you and buy from you. Because, and I always say this, luxury isn't a look, it's a feel.
Yeah.
And you can't cheat people into feeling luxury if you don't feel it within yourself. You can make them
Yeah.
see it, maybe hear it. Maybe you can say you're a luxury brand all you want, but if you don't embody true luxury behind the scenes, no aesthetic, no photo shoot, no gorgeous font will save you.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah.
I love that. And actually, you did quite a potent piece of content recently, which I know like stirred a bit of of drama on the internet. Do you want to talk us through that one?
Are you talking about the reel that went viral? I want to make sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I posted a reel, and again, this is when you know you're becoming fully expressed online. It's when you come to post a piece of content and your heart's beating faster, and you're like,
Mm.
"Oh my God, I feel buzz around this already happening before I even hit post." And I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I'm not human because I am. I sat on that content piece for a whole day. It's been sitting in my drafts. The caption is written, it's edited, it's ready to go. But something in me was like, okay, this is gonna stir some drama because you're finally gonna say what you actually want to say.
Mm.
And so what that reel said is you can't build a luxury brand if you're still intimidated by walking into a luxury store.
Mic drop.
And mic drop. No wonder I think it's over 60,000 views by now. And of course, it stirred some drama. Of course, people paid attention to it. Of course, it went viral because, again, I said what I wanted to say in the way I wanted to say it.
Yeah.
And the truth is, before I built a luxury brand, I was intimidated by walking into luxury stores. In fact, I didn't even want to walk past them. And this is the funny piece, is you can desire luxury. You can desire what's in the luxury store. You can desire to work and hire that mentor who feels like so out there. You can desire to charge higher ticket pricing. You can desire all of that, but if you're intimidated by it and you don't value yourself as someone who can be associated by that luxury brand, by that luxury name, by that luxury product, you're going to keep running away from it. And so I used to be intimidated by walking into luxury stores.
Hmm.
I desire it. Like I'd want the designer bag. I'd want the watch. I'd want to just simply walk in because again, I was always drawn to brands. Like that always fascinated me. But I was intimidated by it. I would immediately feel tightness in my body. And I would feel like one day, one day I'll go into that store. One day I'll book that hotel. One
Yeah.
day I'll fly business class. One day, one day, one day. But there was always tightness around it. There was always, oh, when I get to that point, when I hit that milestone, then I'll be worthy to associate myself with such and such brands.
Yeah.
And that is the main reason why I created that post is, and
Yeah.
that's the main reason why I'm hosting my retreat in Dubai is
Hmm.
because I knew that from my experience, I wasn't able to build a luxury brand until I was able to associate myself with it, until
Yeah.
I put myself in the room, walk into that hotel, sit in that lobby, go to that five-star restaurant. Can you walk into a jewelry store and not fumble? I would walk and I wouldn't buy anything. I wouldn't buy anything. I'd just walk around and let myself feel the ambience, look
Yeah.
at the customer service. Like every single time I walked into a luxury whatever, whether it's flying business class, whether it's walking into a jewelry store, whether it's buying my first designer purchase, whether it's going into a hotel that feels a bit like expansive, walking into a room that I felt like oh my God, like I desire to be in that room, but part of me is so scared and intimidated by it.
Yeah.
By putting myself in the room and allowing myself to feel luxury, because as I said, luxury isn't a look, it's a feel.
Yeah.
By allowing myself to feel luxury and day by day embody it, that is when I was able to translate that into my brand because again, luxury is all about embodiment. You cannot
Hmm.
fake luxury. It's a feeling, it's an experience. And so that's why it stirred up some drama,
Yeah.
but it's the truth. It's definitely the truth.
I loved that post. I thought it was so intelligent and so provoking as well, because I just knew there were going to be a ton of people like, you don't need to spend this much on a handbag to have a luxury brand or whatever it is. And it's like
Yeah,
that wasn't what the post is about. The post is about worthiness essentially and how much we can put conditions on I'll feel good enough when, right? So it's like I could
mhm,
have the luxury brand, but it's only going to be good enough if somebody actually buys at this rate or whatever, and how
yeah,
you accidentally sabotage yourself through that process. But if you can really allow yourself to feel that embodiment of worthiness and you can really back yourself, your services, your pricing, your brand, the rest of it, it's like, okay, then you can hold that power. But if you are outsourcing to this is only good if all my clients are happy. This is only good if everyone pays this price. This is only good if I double my income every month or whatever. You're standing on real shaky ground, on shaky power where you're trying to create something to prove something. And so that's what I really took from that post. And yeah, I think it really drew in like the people who got that, they got that.
exactly. And you cannot associate yourself with something that you find unfamiliar to you.
Mm.
How will you? It doesn't even have to be a luxury brand. How will you build a, let's say, I don't know, a fun brand if you don't know how to have fun in your life? Like embody
Yeah.
fun. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to do with the luxury piece. I know that's my genius, but
Yeah.
like even women who build um like siren energy brands.
Yeah.
Like there are women where you go into a opinion and you're like, oh my gosh, she's giving siren energy. And it's so clear. How is that possible? She would not be possible. It wouldn't be possible for her to build that kind of brand if she doesn't embody it. Because
Mhm.
again, if she makes it look like it's giving siren energy, but she's not embodying it, you're gonna feel it immediately. So
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And as you say, the authenticity piece of like building a luxury brand, or what does luxury mean to you? What does fun mean to you? What does siren mean to you? And then drawing it in like there is no one correct way, but the way that it is, the way that's going to be most
Mhm.
powerful, is the thing that feels
Yep.
authentic to you because then it's going to be magnetic. Yeah, powerful. Can you tell us more about your brand to fame methodology? What are the core
Yeah,
pillars? How does it help women become unforgettable? Tell us all about it.
of course. So the brand to fame is my mastermind, and the name speaks for itself. I take you from a brand to real fame and becoming a household name where you're famous for who you are and people view you as a luxury asset in the market and you become an industry of your own. And this is another level of brand building because building a luxury brand is completely different. It's a completely different realm than building a fame brand. So I walk my clients through the fame formula. That is what I call it.
Right.
Now, brand to fame is the royal grounds where these luxury brands are being sculpted, where fame brands are being sculpted. And I want to identify first what a fame brand is. A fame brand is a brand that's built for fame in simple terms. But what it truly is it's a personal brand that transcends any feed, any algorithm, any trend, any timeline. A brand that is built to make you stand out in the market and truly make you famous. Not famous for attention, but famous for your impact, famous for your depth and your genius. And the type of woman that are made to build fame brands are the type of women who are here to become insanely rich because they are insanely rich in their ability to change someone's life. That is what a true fame brand is. And so the fame formula is I walk my clients through 5 pillars. And the fifth pillar I leave for very high level close proximity spaces. So that's why there are 2 masterminds. But the brand to fame, I'll walk you through the formula. So the formula says there are 4 pillars inside brand to fame. The first pillar is fame soul. This is where I say you cannot become known and famous for what you do and who you are if you haven't fully built your fame identity. The version of you 5 years from now who's on billboards, who's speaking on stages, who's selling out in-person events. Who is she? What kind of woman do you want to be when you're famous? That is the first piece. So it's the identity behind the fame. Your fame soul is we take the emotional piece of it, the the depth of who you are as a woman, and we bring it to the surface in terms of what let's sculpt the identity of who you are as a famous woman in your fully expressed version. And that's where the self-expression comes in. And this is a huge part of my work.
Mm,
So fame soul is we literally take the soul of your brand, take the soul of your famous identity of who you are as a fame brand, and we translate that and we start plugging that into your content, into your brand, into your presence online. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is fame world. As I said in the beginning, a brand is a world. So this is where we start actually creating that multi-sensory experience. Like honestly, think about your senses, like sight, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. This is where we go into the art and science of sculpting a luxury brand that is felt on multiple sensory levels. This is where we go into your signature aesthetic, of course, because it's a huge part of it. This is where we go into your tone of voice that makes you unique as a brand. This is where we almost create an aroma. Like people can almost smell your brand, they can almost taste it, they can almost touch it, they feel it on a full body level. That is
yeah.
when we create, that is what we create in the fame world. And then we move on to the third pillar, which is fame culture. I believe, the most powerful brands in the world. And if you want to build true fame, is that the brand cannot be backed by you only. So this is the part of the methodology where we make your brand become backed by power, by presence, but most importantly, by people.
Yeah.
This is where you create a culture. This is where you build sisterhood. This is where you build real community where there is a specific way of doing things. It's almost like you go to another universe and there's this tribe. This is where we build your tribe, basically. This is where people start wearing your brand as a badge of honor. They
Mm,
feel like they associate with your brand. They believe in what you do. They push your brand forward with you. And then we move on to the last pillar, which is fame capital. This is how do you actually now bring in real money? How
yeah.
can we take your brand and turn it into a monetization engine and a sales system that's running for you 24/7? So this is the four main parts of the methodology that in my mastermind. And then for higher level spaces, you have the final pillar, which is once you've laid all of that down and if you're making sure every pillar evolves with you, we take it to fame ascension. Fame ascension is where you go from I'm a famous woman, I'm an icon, to building a brand that is immortal.
Mm,
This is where you create brand artifacts, you create assets, you create intellectual property, you create um, things that are way outside of the industry that outlive you. This is where it's so much bigger than you, but it's about the whole global fame and brand and influence that you have created by laying all those foundations of a fame brand. So that is the methodology in a very quick breakdown.
yeah, that sounds phenomenal. And I'm sure there are going to be so many people listening who are wanting all the details of that. So we'll tag you in the show notes. But can you tell everybody where they can find you and how they can come and play in your world? And I know you have some really other exciting things coming up too. So yeah,
Yeah.
please share with us.
Okay, you can find me anywhere at the Reem Alshamsi. That's on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I also host the She Reigns podcast, which Katie was also a guest speaker on. And where to join my world, currently two spaces are open. The first space is the Brand to Fame Mastermind. This is where we apply the methodology that I just talked about, where we take you from an online personal brand with an Instagram feed to something that transcends any industry, any niche, any box that they could possibly put you in. This is where we go and we send it. This is where we build real fame, build real global brands, doing insane things that most people won't do. This is the space for the woman who is done with the basics, done with the bare minimum, and she's ready to take extra large moves and build her brand on extra large impact. So that's the Brand to Fame Mastermind and is currently enrolling. The other space open right now is the Rise to Royal Retreat, which is happening in Dubai this December. Limited spots available. This is where you come and you honestly, every woman that's gonna come to the retreat is gonna become famous because who's gonna have the type of embodiment that you have? Who's gonna have the most fun, the most insane brand building that's happening in real time, in real life, in the most luxurious, iconic city in the world? That is where we truly take your brand from brand to not just fame, but royalty, where you'll be surrounded by wealth 24/7. Obviously, you're in the city of wealth.
Yeah.
That is where you dial into the frequency of wealth, of richness, of royalty, of real luxury, not just what it looks, but how it feels on the body level. This is the room for you when you want to feel luxury in your body in your life and you want to see fame in your brand and you want to see real cash in your bank. So that's where you can find me.
Beautiful. Okay, well, we'll pop your links in the show notes as well so people can come and stay connected. And if this episode just lit something up in you, you are feeling that royal frequency flowing through you, don't just keep this episode to yourself, right? Reach out to us, tell us how you found this, what your huge activations were, share it with somebody you love. We always love it when you share your stories and tag us so that other people can find us too. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone for listening along. Reem, thank you. This conversation was so much more than branding. I really appreciate all of your magic and insight and wisdom, and it's been such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And if this conversation called you forward to do more of your identity work, integration, or evolution for the whole woman, then I have two powerful ways to go deeper. The portal is my 30-day energetic recalibration space for women who's outgrown surface strategy and are ready to lead from identity, intimacy, and soul level congruence. I also have a free somatic sales masterclass, which you can get instant access to when you join my newsletter over at katierogerscoaching.com. Until next time, Queens, I'll see you in the next episode. Mwah.